The War of 1812. March 1815. The war thus far. March 1815. The War of 1812 is well and truly over. The treaties have been ratified. La guerre est fini. But still, fighting persists. Oh well, soldiers and sailors will be, soldiers and sailors. On February 20th, USS Constitution captured the British ships Cyane and Levant. Please see my February 1815 video. And took her two prizes to the Cape Verde Islands, arriving at Porto Praya on March the 10th. On March 12th, in foggy weather, a ship is seen approaching the harbor, and a few minutes later, two more vessels appear. The Constitution's captain, Charles Stewart, reckoning the vessels to be British warships with no intention of respecting the port's neutrality, quickly departs, taking Cyane and Levant with him. They make sail 4 minutes after the second sighting. The mystery ships turned out to be HMS Leander, 58 guns, HMS Newcastle, 50 guns, and HMS Acasta, 50 guns. The very ships that had blockaded Constitution at Boston before she managed to escape. So they're pissed. Constitution quickly pulls away, but realizing Cyane was coming in range of the British guns, signals for her to tack away in order to escape, which she does successfully, arriving in the USA on April the 10th. Alas, Levant is not quite so lucky. Unable to escape, she fled back to Porto Praya, hoping the British would respect its neutrality. They didn't. Instead, they entered the port and began bombarding Levant until after 15 minutes, she surrendered. As for the Constitution, old Ironsides herself, she managed to escape to Puerto Rico, arriving on April the 28th to learn the war was finally over. Sticking at sea on March the 16th, Lieutenant John Hulbert, sailing south off the Georgia coast in Gunboat 168, spies HMS Erebus. Erebus, 18 guns. Erebus at anchor by the shore, but sees no reason to avoid her. Hey, the war was over, right? Right? Besides, he was carrying dispatches intended for British Vice Admiral George Cockburn. Although, why an American ship is carrying British dispatch... never mind. Alas, Erebus didn't get the memo. She is seen following the gunboat at 3:30 p.m. and around 4:10 raises her colors and fires a shot. Hulbert also raises his colors but continues on his way. This leads to a second shot, insults, and a demand for surrender. The British even send a boat to take Hulbert to the captain of the Erebus, David Ewan Bartholomew. David Ewan Bartholomew. Hulbert demurred, so the British opened fire, damaging the gunboat's sail and rigging. Fearing an unnecessary loss of life, Hulbert surrenders. In surrendering, Hulbert attempts to give his sword to Bartholomew, but after what Westhouse describes as, quote, some difficult conversation, end of quote, he instead receives an apology and is allowed to continue on his way. So just what the actual hell was that all about? Dr. Westhouse provides a potential clue. Quote, interestingly, 1 month before the official declaration of war, Lieutenant Hulbert, in the very same gunboat, had an altercation with a British vessel, Sappho, 18 guns, at the harbor of Fernandina, Spanish East Florida, on 15th May, 1812. End of quote. So was that payback or tit for tat or what the hell? By the way, Wikipedia says that the second shot fired in this engagement was supplied by Gunboat 168, firing across the bow of Erebus, and that the shots of both Erebus and 168 were the last 2 shots fired during the War of 1812. I don't think that's true, but I put a link to the Wikipedia article in the description for you to check it out and make up your own mind. Finally, on March 23rd, USS Hornet, 18 guns, Captain James Biddle, arrives at Tristan de Cunha, a small island in the South Atlantic, but before they can drop anchor, they espy a sail on the horizon, a sail which turns out to be the British sloop Penguin, 16 guns, and they head out in pursuit. When Captain James Dickinson of Penguin notices he is being followed, he turns to engage, raising his colors and firing a signal gun at 1:40 p.m. Hornet raises her colors and answers with a broadside. For 15 minutes, both ships slug it out with broadsides before, in the words of Dr. Westhouse, quote, they become fouled in each other's rigging, end of quote. The Hornet's crew wait to repel boarders from Penguins, boarders which don't come. Instead, the ships separate, Penguin losing most of her rigging and damaging her mainmast. Towards the end of the fight, Captain Dickinson is killed, command devolving on Lieutenant James MacDonald, who, given the damage to Penguin, decides to surrender. The short 30-minute exchange cost the British 14 dead and 28 wounded, the Americans 2 dead and 11 hurt, including Biddle apparently. The badly damaged Penguin is set on fire and scuttled. Hornet is soon joined by Peacock, 22 guns, and Tom Bowline, 12, with whom she had eluded the British blockade. The 3 ships had agreed to rendezvous at Tristan de Cunha. They had hoped to make contact with USS President, which had also run the blockade, but she had been captured on January the 15th. So, please see my January 1815 video. January 15th, 1815. Tom Bowline will convey the British prisoners to Rio de Janeiro, while Hornet and Peacock continue hunting. Thus, the war goes on. Stay tuned. My primary source for today's video is Dr. Westhouse's unpublished The War of 1812, a chronology of the military actions 1812 to 1815. But, as always, any errors are strictly my own. If this is your first visit to 1812 channel, my name is Warren, and I'm your host. I'm not a historian, nor am I an expert on the War of 1812. Instead, I'm a student wishing to learn about the conflict. Each month for the roughly 3 years of the war, which is winding down, I will outline the major events. I will also try to review a book on the war. Try to. Think about it. Chuck went out of the library. Did I miss anything? Any errors? Then let me know in the comments below. And till the bitter end. Cheers. I have to apologize for my gravelly voice today, but it's pretty smoky with all these forest fires out here in Saskatchewan. Oh boy, we could use some rain.